Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kev's Movie Corner. I'm Kev. This week, and for the next few weeks, my Uncle Doug is going to be joining me because we're talking about the Star Wars franchise. And this week, we are starting with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And so this one came out in 1999, right? And
Yep.
Doug, I think me and you went to see these three in theaters together. Pretty sure me and you went to see all three of these the episode 1, 2, and 3 in theaters together. I don't know if, to tell you the truth, I don't know if I've seen these first three since then.
I've only seen them probably 2 or 3 times. They're as we'll discuss coming up, they're definitely not in the upper echelon of it, but in all honesty, rewatching it as a 52-year-old instead of a 25-year-old, I did have a little different perspective and a little more respect for them than what I think I initially did.
Yeah,
So,
I actually enjoyed it more than I remember enjoying it, or respect it more than I remember it getting respect back when it was came out back in the day. The synopsis from IMDb is two Jedi escape a hostile blockade and find allies and come across a young boy who may bring balance to the Force, but the long dormant Sith resurface to claim their former glory. This is the first. So this one, I don't really know. I don't know if you know the story of this. I'm not, enough of a Star Wars nerd to know the reason why, or if there is a reason why the prequels came so many years after the first ones. I've heard rumors that it was because he didn't have the technology to make it, like George Lucas didn't have the technology to make it the way he wanted to. But I mean, this is almost. I mean, this 20 years after.
well, Jedi came out in 83, so 16
Yeah,
years. But yeah, that's basically my understanding. And it was more everything I understand directed with the second Attack of the Clone, Wars. It was the fight scenes that when you needed all the amount of thousands of clones and stuff, the technology just wasn't there
mm-hmm.
until the CGI was developed.
That makes sense.
And the story arc, I think, has been in his head ever since he came up with doing a space opera,
Yeah,
more or less. But that's basically everything he always said is I knew what I wanted to do and the technology hadn't caught up with my thinking and my, story arc yet.
yeah.
So
So this is I enjoy this. I enjoyed the movie. Watching it again. I don't. What did you think of this? What was something that you enjoyed more than you expected to on a rewatch of it after so many years?
um probably the I put down a lot of good notes and I have a lot of bad notes, but probably the storyline I paid more attention to now. Um, I really enjoyed Liam Neeson and Ian, and I can't pronounce his, but who plays Palpatine. Them two brought so much credibility in the acting
Mm-hmm.
to the story because Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, he just played that calm, nature wise Jedi
Yeah.
that I love so much. And Palpatine played both sides of the arc very, very well because if you know the arc, he's playing good guy, bad guy. We know he's the Sith Lord. Um, you know, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I probably appreciated the CGI a little bit more than I did initially on how they integrated real life characters with all the CGI, and it seemed to seamlessly work well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I forgot how good a couple of my favorite parts of the movie was obviously the pod race.
Yeah.
The pod race was phenomenal, and I remember seeing it in the theater and was blown away. I mean, it really was well done. And then the fight scene with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite.
It's really cool to
That's
watch.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite lightsaber duels of all 9, 10, 12, however many movies you want to include in the universe. I just that double-edged sword and the way it's filmed, I thought was, and I think part of it that I really enjoy about the fight scene also was John Williams' iconic score,
Mm-hmm.
the music. I mean, who doesn't love John Williams? I mean,
I don't
everything from
know.
Jaws to, I mean, he's just, and
We did a whole
the
video,
timing
a
of
whole
the music.
episode on John Williams one time. So I
Oh,
don't know.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the way the music changed for that fight scene and everything, I thought was just perfect. And I think that's just some of the things that stood out that I appreciated more this time looking through it through, I would like to think, wiser eyes than I did as a 25-year-old, because I do remember walking out of theater extraordinarily disappointed. But I'll be the first to admit I'm an old school snob when it comes to, it's going to be really hard to beat the original three,
Yeah.
which, are 4, 5, and 6. But, I was 4 years old in 77 when the first one came out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just something about some of that stuff when you're a child that it's just hard to beat it even as you grow up. But
There's a
I,
lot
I
of
did try
nostalgia.
to be fair and look through it through a different perspective this time.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of nostalgia that comes with it when you watch it at that age and things too, and yeah. So that's a lot to overcome as well. So, but yeah, I enjoyed this at a second watch, and like you said, it doesn't. Um, I did for some reason I didn't. Jar Jar Binks is still annoying.
I still hated him as much as I did the first
He's
time.
still
Yeah.
annoying, but for some reason I thought he was more prominent in this than I like. I seem to remember him being more prominent in the movie than I guess he was. And I don't know if
Mhm.
that's just me, but he didn't seem as in your face in this as I remember him being for some reason. But maybe that was just me. Or maybe I just didn't care as much. That was maybe the problem. Or maybe you thought something entirely different. Maybe you thought it was overly annoying, but I don't know. So, um,
Yeah. Well, at the top of my negative side, which I've still got a few positives, but he definitely is I still, and I really did try to look through it through a kid's eyes almost,
yeah.
because I understand, or I'm not saying I understand, but I know George Lucas, he really developed the series for children,
Hmm.
and stuff. So, yeah, I hate the character, but if you talk to younger people, they love Jar Jar.
Yeah.
They just think he's funny and quirky and all that stuff. And, I just, even watching it this time, I didn't see that he brought anything to the movie.
Yeah.
His character, in me, I, I, I think he could have been left out and it wouldn't have affected the movie at all, in my opinion. But I understand trying to, what he was kind of trying to do, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but I did. I mean, watching back this time, I forgot there's some really cool cameos in this. You got the Tusken Raiders that are shooting at the pod
Hmm.
racers
Yeah.
as they're driving. You've got, Jabba the Hutt
Hmm.
in his booth, being obviously a smuggler, a huge gambler, all this and that. You've got, yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but during some of the Senate, the politics,
ET's in
discussions,
there.
You got some Wookiees in the
Hmm.
booth up on the left, and of course Yoda. I mean, it's our
Yeah.
first introduction to Yoda and stuff, who at that time had turned into a complete CGI and stuff. So,
So
you know,
I actually read something on that. So
mhm.
apparently they tried to make him a CGI. There is a scene in this movie where he is a CGI. It's the very last
Okay.
one, but he was a puppet for part of it. So there's both CGI and puppet Yoda in this movie because they couldn't
Oh,
get him quite to be perfect. So
okay.
after this, he is CGI. So in 2 and 3, he is all CGI. But
Gotcha.
for this one, the only part of him, the only scene where he's completely CGI is when him and Obi-Wan are talking about the future, Anakin's future,
Interesting.
which I thought
That's
was interesting because I was like, that's
yeah.
interesting because I thought he was CGI in all these too. but apparently they
Yeah.
didn't get him. Like they didn't think it was convincing enough when they did it the first time.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good to know.
yeah.
That's good to know. And I mean, like I said, the storyline's solid.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how they kind of discussed how Palpatine was, like I've said earlier, kind of how he got to the point of being in the Senate and, moving up through everything
Mm-hmm.
and just playing both sides. And, I thought it was kind of the one I mean, I do like you got introduced R2D2, you got introduced to
Yep.
CP3O, realize Anakin's building him, even though when they meet each other in the future, he doesn't know it's him, and I'm thinking, well,
It's a little continuity error,
okay,
but
little
it's
story
yeah.
arc, but it's kind of dumb luck that they found Anakin. At the same time, you just happen. I know Qui-Gon Jinn said this isn't just by chance. This was meant to happen. But to me, it was just kind of dumb luck that they landed on the island because their ship.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, I mean, yeah, I thought it was much better than what I would remembered it. I actually enjoyed it,
Yeah. I felt the
which
same
I
way.
did. I didn't expect to be honest. But
So I have a couple of interesting facts. I always look up the trivia. I don't know if you ever go on IMDb and look up like the trivia on movies, but I always think it's interesting to see like the different facts that they have on different like behind
mhm,
the scenes things. Um, so this movie's a lot of CGI, like a lot of CGI,
a
which
lot,
is
yeah.
you know, almost all the original ones is all practical effects because they didn't really have CGI back then, so everything was
Mhm.
practical. But in this one, they basically all the sets are only built to about the height of the actors, and then everything else above that is CGI. So
Interesting.
Liam Neeson, being a tall MFer, um, he was apparently super excited about being in this movie and signed a contract before he was even read the script. So one, he was super excited. But since he's so tall, he cost um, the construction an extra $150,000 because I guess his
They
height
had to do
difference.
some
They had to,
adjustments.
yeah, because his height
Interesting.
difference made them pay an extra $150,000, which is kind of comical that just his height difference compared to everybody else would cost that much difference.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I go back and watch it, I'll have to pay attention. I guess I didn't even really pay. That didn't even stand out to me how much taller he is to even
Yeah, it
you and
doesn't.
you and McGregor and stuff.
No.
But well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did not know that.
that's kind of crazy. I think. I guess that also tells you just how much it costs to build things in Hollywood or something. Because $150,000 to just build a few things to make it his height versus Ewan McGregor. Or, I mean, Natalie Portman and all them were kids, so they're not that old. That's not a big thing. But
No, they were small to begin with.
yeah,
So
so
did you have any negative things you didn't like? Because I mean, I've got a whole list of some negative things. Because I mean, I've complimented it for the most part, but there are a lot of things that stood out. Was there anything that stood out negatively that you were just like, this kind of just, I didn't like this at all, or I didn't.
um, I mean, Jar Jar like his voice is the most annoying thing, and like you said, like he could probably be taken out and it wouldn't matter. Like that's the biggest thing. Um, I don't. Most movies that I watch, I don't am not usually. I don't usually have a ton of negative things to say about them, for the most part, because if I enjoy it enough to where if I get enjoyment out of it, then I see the value of it for an hour and a half. Like it's a 2 hour movie, so it's 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah.
So not really. Um, I didn't think any of it looked bad. I didn't. I don't think the CGI looks bad. It's not like overly. It's not overly abhorrent to looking. Like it all looks good. It
Yeah.
all looks well done because it's all done by, Industrial Light and Magic, which is one of the best crews out there to do that kind of stuff. Like it's all well done. So
Mhm.
there's not really anything that's to me that is that bad, and it's a story that I really like. So there's not really any major issues that I have with it. No, I can't
All
say.
right.
What are some of the other
Well,
ones that you have?
I've been called a movie snob, but not
Yeah, I know.
just
My
by
dad
your
has
own
called
father.
you. My dad has
Yeah,
called
and
you a movie snob very many times. I know.
well, there's a guy I work with at work, and he's watched more movies than I've watched or will ever watch,
Mm-hmm.
and he watches them for entertainment value, and he's
Yeah.
like, before I started working for you, you've kind of ruined some movies for me because you look at things that a lot of people don't look at that just stand like one of the just I'll just hit a couple things. I did not like the young boy who played Anakin. And,
Okay.
he was born, Jake's his name, his real name.
Yeah.
He was born in 89. Haley Joel Osment, who played in The Sixth Sense
Yeah.
and either did win or should have won Best Supporting Actor, was born in 88.
Okay.
And so,
The,
for all intents and purposes, they're the same age.
yeah. Basically.
And this is probably more on the casting. They both have brownish blonde hair.
Yeah.
Not to say that Haley Joel should have played, but are you telling me you couldn't find someone that could act a little bit better? Because you could have bought it both that they could have turned into Anakin because they both have some similar looks.
Yeah.
So that and I hated that they called him Annie. To me, I hated that nickname. Annie, Annie, Annie. That drove me nuts. And then the other one that really bothered me more than anything is growing up when you're a kid, like I did with Star Wars, the whole Force thing was supposed to be some space magic. It was something out there that was so mythical that no one could really explain it. And in this movie, they basically dumbed the Force down to being able to take a little sample of blood and test the midichlorians to see how many is in Anakin's body. And I thought it took some of that nostalgia out of the Force by basically saying we can test someone to see how much how much Force more or less they have in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't like that they because to me it was always supposed to be just some space magic.
Mm-hmm.
And to dumb it down to a blood test, that and I guess the other one is, and it's maybe a testament to how strong the Sith Lord was, is that the whole Jedi Council's there, and no one knew that Palpatine was a Sith Lord. And maybe that's more of trying to show how strong the Sith Lord was to be able to hide his true identity from the whole Jedi Council. And it's like, okay, well, Yoda is the only one that could even remotely compete force wise with the Lord Sith. So there's a little story arc I had there that was a little bit. I didn't quite understand. They wouldn't let Qui-Gon Jinn train Anakin to be a
Mm-hmm.
Jedi because they said he was too old, and Yoda could sense some dark side in him. And he said you can't do it because you're already training
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. But then once Qui-Gon dies, well then Obi-Wan can train him. So I don't quite understand why they changed because Obi-Wan was ready to be a Jedi anyway. So I'm kind of, there's just a few little things like that, and
Yeah.
your father would be like, "Oh, you're picking it apart." But I think the real one was just the whole Force. I thought they just kind of took some of that magic out that I remember being a kid, trying to understand the Force and thinking, "Oh, it's all around us." To just think, well, if they can just do a blood test, then I, I know it's probably petty, but just a few little odds and ends that I had an issue with. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it much more than what I remember back when I was 25.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but
I mean, my only thing with the Force is that I think it still. I think they still play it up as being all around you. It's just that the blood test. I understand the blood test thing, but that's just kind of like how they can see if somebody is able to interact with it almost or something. But
eh, and
you know,
that very well may be,
I
and
don't know.
and it may have been more of an explanation, just showing that no one had, his count is higher than anyone's had ever been recorded and
Yeah.
stuff. So maybe it's just part of the arc of showing, because he didn't have a father, so it's like he's born just out of the force type thing,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was looking too much into it, but just some of that little things like that. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it a lot more than what I remember enjoying it in the past. So
Yeah. So I did think it was uh I agree. I did think it was much more fun to watch this time than in the past. So I have a list of the 11 movies. So this is all 9 of the like Skywalker like main movies plus
hmm
Solo and Rogue One.
Okay.
And their Rotten Tomatoes scores. So this is how they're ranked based on their Rotten Tomatoes scores. So
Okay.
1 through 11, where do you think this one falls?
Um, I think this one probably falls in the top. Let's say, three.
You think it fall? You think this is in the top 3?
I think it's in the top three because I think a lot of people who use Rotten Tomatoes are younger, and I think the younger generations were more accepting of the prequels than
Okay.
what my age group was. So I think Rotten Tomatoes is going to give it a lot higher score than what I probably would.
Okay. What would you put it at?
Out of the 11,
Yep. I mean, I don't know how many you've seen. I don't know if you've seen. So I haven't seen Solo. I don't know if you've seen Solo or not. But
yes, I've
okay.
seen all 11.
Okay.
I have seen all 11. Um, well, you kind of caught me off guard. I hadn't really thought about ranking them. Um,
Well, you'll know for next week because we're gonna do this every week. So.
yeah, yeah, I would probably, let's see, trying to think of the ones that I like worse than it. It's probably sixth.
6. So right, pretty much right in the middle then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about my sixth, six or six. Yeah, yeah, because I've only seen Solo once.
Okay.
And I'll be right. I'll be honest right now. Rogue One is so well done.
I
Rogue
like
One
Rogue.
and,
I
and
like Rogue One.
Rogue One and The Force Awakens and your original three are probably going to be all ahead of it. So right there is 5 films. So probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say 6.
Okay.
So
Do you want me to
now
tell
I
you?
may watch Attack of the Clones next week and be like, oh, this is much better than what I remember. It's better than the Phantom Menace. So I may make an adjustment from week to week. But yeah, I have to admit the prequels and the last three I have watched the least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those middle three, the first 4, 5, and 6, I
Yeah.
can almost verbatim,
Yeah.
just go through my head and what it's like a film reel going through my head. So
So
yeah, where would you put it? I mean, I guess it's kind of hard for you to even if you haven't seen
I don't.
Solo.
Yeah, I haven't seen Solo, so I don't know where I would put it out of with that one. Um, I don't know. I would probably put it in. I I'd put it. I'd probably put it towards the bottom. Truthfully, I haven't seen even the last 3 that many times. The like most recent ones, the
Mm-hmm.
7, 8, and 9 that many times.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I saw the 7, The Force Awakens, like 3 or 4 times in theaters because that one was really good when they did that.
It was
That one was really well
real
done.
well. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, J.J. Abrams did that one and it was well done.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the other 2 I didn't see that many times. I didn't see. I did see them in theaters, but not like that.
So
Um,
where did you tell me where Rotten Tomatoes had it? And
Rotten
I
Tomatoes
already
has it
forgot.
at number 10 out of 11.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So my theory was completely wrong.
Yeah.
So
It's a
um
it's got a 54% rating. So,
yeah, and I wonder, like I said, I wonder why. I'd like to read some of the thought
the
process
the
as
critic
to
consensus, I have the critics consensus on here. It says
okay.
burdened by exposition and populated by stock characters, The Phantom Menace gets the Star Wars prequels off to a bumpy start, albeit visually dazzling.
Interesting.
That's exactly what it says. So,
Well, hey, you know what? So now, like I said, I don't know. Let's just put it like this. Um, I just I just looked at it differently. I just did enjoy it. And I even told your dad I enjoyed it much more. I think my wife Amanda will probably be a little surprised because I think she would probably got tired of hearing me complain about how bad it was back in '99 when it came out.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe I'm mellowing maybe a little bit as I get older. I don't know, but we'll see. It may get pushed down as I see other ones. I may be like, oh no, that was better than this one. So, but
Yeah.
that is interesting where it came in at.
Yeah.
So,
Number
but,
10 out of 11. So there's only one
okay,
below it.
okay.
So,
Well, that's interesting.
yeah.
So,
But yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for this week then. Next week we will be watching episode 2, I believe. The Attack of the Clones. So
all right. I will see you then.
we will talk about that one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys then.